saying that they may be slowing down game releases, or they've at least talked about it within the Pokemon company. There's loads of posts about it. One on Nintendo, there's also a few on the Pokemon subreddit as well. This one here from this gentleman, the Real Pet Gaming. I don't know where this was from, but apparently comicbook.com had the opportunity to participate in a group interview with Takoto Utsunomiya. I'm sorry if I butchered that. The chief operating officer at the Pokemon Company. While the interview was limited to overall questions about the brand as opposed to specifics about the game or anime, comicbook.com did ask whether there was a specific schedule that the Pokemon brand was beholden to when it came to the release of new Pokemon games. This was the quote. I think in general, if you look at the past, the path we've taken up until now has been this constant release, always regularly releasing products on a fairly fixed kind of a cadence, you might say. Utsunomiya responded via translator, always having these products able to be introduced and new experiences for our customers, and that's how we've operated up until now. I think we're still operating in that way, but there's more and more conversations as the development environments change about how we can continue to do this while making sure that we're ensuring really quality products are also being introduced. So, as a lot of people were saying in the comments, and a few of these that I read, basically people were saying, this doesn't necessarily mean anything, but also, if they're having the discussions internally, it means that, like something might happen, basically, because it means that they're aware of the fact that, I guess the release of Scarlet and Violet was probably a bit of an eye-opener, maybe, one could say, about, maybe they should reconsider the release schedule. I reckon nothing's going to happen until at least after Gen 10 at this point. I don't think the schedule would change, but...
Yeah, I think more because of it's the 30th anniversary coming up, so I think that probably dictates a lot, but yeah. Like you say, though, the conversation's being had. I think that's such a positive thing to start, it taking a step forward in that direction, because it's what everyone... I don't think anyone really would mind ever it taking a year longer or 2 years longer if it meant that it was just a better quality product. It's not like Pokemon's going to suffer for it either. I think they just need to find other ways
to keep interest.
Yeah, and I think they could do it with just additional DLCs, because how long did DLC development take? I legit have no idea, but I'm thinking it probably doesn't take that much longer.
Once you have the base game, I reckon, that's... I mean, I'm not a game developer, so I don't know, maybe it takes forever, but like you say you release a game, say it takes... Let's say they move to a 4-year release cycle for main series games, just add that additional year. So then you have... They could still do spin-off games in between, which I don't think would be a problem. I still think people would buy them. Or at least if they did, a bit like the World Cup and the Euros, they staggered it. So you had your main series game every 4 years, and then every 4 years in between, you get a remake. So every 2 years, you get a new series game, right? So each game would still get a development of 4 years, but every 2 years you get a game, and then in between those 2 years you'd always have the first year where you have the development, where you have the game, like we've just had this year, and then the following year you drop the DLC before the new games comes out, whether it is the main series or just whatever side game they're testing out with. And then you do the same thing. You have the first year where people mess around with the game, you do events like they have done with the Terror Raids, and then the year after that you do drop the DLCs, and then then the new game drops, and then that I feel that could be a lot more useful for them. A release cycle way, maybe 5 years. I don't know how they would do it with 5 years. Well, they would have to start the idea of a Pokemon game. If it was having like 3 or 4 or 5 DLCs, they would have to start. The games would have to be a lot. It would have to be a much bigger project rather than just because like we've said, the reason why they've been able to do such short development cycles for so long is because the games only really have like, you know, like max. Well, I mean, obviously there are certain things you can do post game and stuff, but you know, like you can what the hell? You can complete the games in just like air just went up my nose, and I just like stopped breathing for a second, and I was like, "What is going on?"
Your face there.
But yeah, no. So it obviously, like I said, you can complete the main storyline in like 20, 30 hours if you're doing it quickly, and you know, yeah, you could probably pump 50 hours into it. But if you're looking at, if they want to start releasing, like I say, you compare it to Tears of the Kingdom, you compare it to Breath of the Wild. These games, I know they have an even longer release cycle, but you know, there is, again, you have the main series game, but there's loads. Oh, you're still laughing. There's loads of like, there's loads of like side quests and stuff you can do. Whereas I feel like they would need to add a lot more of that stuff in for.
I feel like when when you're at school and like a teacher's like telling you off and you're finding it really funny, but you're trying not to laugh, and because you know you shouldn't be laughing, it's making you laugh more. I'm in that like cycle, but just explaining that's got me out of it. So yeah, sorry, totally ruined the moment.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Yeah, so like I say, we'll have to wait and see. I don't think anything will happen until after Gen 10 at this point.
Yeah, you're
like
probably right. Yeah.
30th
No, I think it could work out like that as well. Yeah. So I'm all for it, mate. I think it's good that they're having a conversation, and yeah, they might even have like you could even plan to have 3 DLCs per new gen, right? And just space them out 1 year at a time, and then that 4th year you do like a remake of whatever, and you do have. I think you just need to incorporate like new teams within departments, don't you? That deal with like specific things. Like you have one that deals with
they make enough money, right? Like that's not an issue, and. So, you know, like I said, they'll just have to invest in, like I say, more. I'm sure they can find ways of recouping the money they invest, because you can't get hold of Pokemon cards in Japan at the moment.